I'm happy to see you, Logic Lola, but I'm not happy with what we're about to talk about
Yeah.
because Arsenal's done it again. I don't know. Should we go into the negatives on the women's side or the positives on the men's side? Where do we start off with?
I can say let's do the women's side because it's less of an issue in
It
that
doesn't
situation.
hurt so much. It
Because
doesn't hurt so much because it's still early in the season. First defeat,
yeah, with the women's side, it's
like
like first defeat, like in the league anyway. It was
anyway, yeah.
1-0. They didn't play brilliantly, but it was like one of those ones where they, unlike the men who we'll get onto later, I've seen them play better. So it's like one of those ones where, you know what, I didn't want to lose, but it's not like it's a pattern of madness. You know, they beat the I think what was it? Who did they beat in the cup?
London City.
Yeah, the London City beat them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with 4 as usual, just shooting. But it's like we followed it with the performance against United, wasn't great. But look, if they can correct it against Chelsea, which is going to be a challenge. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an easy one. But as long as they play, even if they, I don't want to lose the game, but even if just playing better alone will just make it a lot better because they just played poorly. They weren't good at all. It was just a whole case of, it was just bad. It wasn't great, but it happens every once in a while. Sometimes like your best players don't fire right, and then you get performances like that. So on to the next.
And that's the problem. I think we can kind of look at it again. That's why I started like negs and pros because the negative was that off the back of a good victory in the inevitable result where we are the favorite team, it's a cup game, we should beat them. Got that done. Coming to the league game, it's away, it's tough, it's United. Can we get it? We could, but in the end we didn't. But then on the opposite side, we had a away game against the lads. They they are so tough, but for some weird, strange reason, there was just something in my belly from early that said, "Look, we can win, we can win." I just felt it, and we got the result there. And again, I think it's kind of when you don't get the result at the time you do, you just pick it up because if you start picking out results that aren't in your favor, you're losing more, all heads are down, confidence goes, you just look at all the possible negatives and you just dwell in it. This is the thing about the women's side that I think is very, very excellent. They don't take a loss and run with it. Their run of forms don't come very so much, oh, like we're just playing badly and that's how we're going to be for a little while. No, they have the ambition and the intention to get back into
Yeah,
the game or as well as back into their form anyway. So I think especially that it's only a 1 goal deficit, losing 1-0 to United would more be like, okay, whoever's next, you're going to get it. And from my memory is correct, Chelsea's the next opponent, so they going to get it.
it's going to be a
They
match.
going to get it.
I'm hoping it's one of those ones where because Miedemar didn't get on the team sheet, on the goal sheet, she gets like antsy. So I'm hoping, you know what, she didn't fire against Man United. She brings that energy into Chelsea and fires in that game.
I'm sure her record prior to that United game is that there was this, at least almost all of the games played, she was involved in a goal or at least got a goal. And
So,
that United game would be the one in a while where you didn't see her name
yeah,
involved. So 100% expect her to get, not that she's out of form anyway, but she'll be back in the score
yeah,
sheet soon enough and becoming the absolute problem that she is. I still can't believe how young and talented she is and still producing goals upon goals every week. So
exactly.
I'm kind of again gonna just go straight into it. I don't know how did we go from a it's not a confident but somewhat confident victory against United, and I have to say somewhat because we played where the defense wasn't making too many crazy mistakes. That we were kind of we kept I could see a bit of it like we kept our shape quite a few times.
Mm.
United had a few occasions they were trying to break it down, but from that penalty and just other chances in the game, it looked like we could have really put the game to bed at some point. And because when it happens, it's a shoulda, woulda, coulda. If
Mm.
it didn't happen, it could have been a whole different story. We may have conceded 3, and United could have said they were all over us. But I don't know. I feel like this game was the points were needed, but the performance may not complement it so much, but it's still a great victory nonetheless. Or am I wrong for saying so?
I'd say it's the United result was a great result for the morale, great result for the record of, I think it was like 16 plus or whatever years of never beating Man United at Old Trafford, and I think it was like 6 years since beating a top six in general, like one of the big six in general, away from home. For record reasons, it was a great win. So in terms of the midfield performance and the defensive performance, another one, really good performance. So in terms of like, I think the tactics were spot on. Like when it comes to United, what they've shown is if you press them, they are very easy to kind of negate. And that's what we did. We had Partey and then we had El Neni pressing the life out of that midfield. And obviously, Partey is a levels midfielder. He's just, and that was him. And the thing is, it wasn't even him in his like full gear. It was him just doing his normal Partey
He was
self.
very casual.
You know, that wasn't like him going like hell for leather. That was him just being him. And obviously, El Neni being his mobile, one touch, two touch, quick pass kind of normal self. It was like, it worked perfectly. The defense was solid, especially Gabriel. And the defense was solid. And then the only issue that we had in that game, even though we won it, was the attack as per. Because like, I never thought that Man United were going to score. Like I was confident. I think after a bit of the game, I was like, this game, I was thinking if we don't get any of the chances that we've made, it'll end the draw. Because I didn't see Man United. I think apart from the kind of whatever, like speculative, not speculative, but the pass from Rashford from the midfield into Greenwood that Leno said. Apart from that, I didn't see, there was no fear on my part anyway that United were going to score. My issue was seeing, are we going to score? And it was from Bellingham doing his normal kind of runs that he does when he's in the attacking thing, and then Pogba being an idiot. Coupled with that, gave us the penalty, and it's like, cool, we won 1-0. But I think if you watch that game, we had enough chances that we should have scored from open play anyway. But this is where my issue comes, is that the quality that we have in attack is not good. And then I think the one quality we do have is playing left foot. So when we were given chances in that game, which I think they were decent enough that I think a good attack convert or at least on target, this game wouldn't have, because I think some people have saying, oh, we only won by a penalty, but we should have won an open anyway. So other than that, it's one of those things where we won. I can't credit the attack too much because they were silent for most of the game, or just kind of off target. But for the team, I give them ratings for that. But from that win, I never gassed the performance to the point of me thinking the next game is a lot. You know, I gassed the performance for the fact that we beat Man United and just kept it at that. I never thought it was going to be, oh, we beat United. That means everything else is going to be. I never thought that. I just gassed it for the fact that we beat United and I want to rub it into United fans' faces.
And that's the other beautiful side of it. Of course, despite having differences in recent seasons, our club has kind of been the example of rivalry through fans, but on pitch, it is what it is. It's just whatever. Because when United and Arsenal go up against each other, they make it feel like, before obviously COVID happened and there was no fans, the atmosphere made it feel like there was still some tense, some form of intensity and tension. And where you kind of get those auras or a bit of those feelings, it's still nice, it's great, you mold into it. Now it's more like, depending on the result, and more time obviously it's gone the other way for the opposition, we're laughed at, it's expected, everyone's saying you are who you are, don't expect anything of it. We're beating United now. It's now we're wrong for celebrating, or it's only a victory against United, or why are you getting so excited because United are dead? We know how useless they are as a club, but we still have our rights to win a game and celebrate a win, you know?
United fans have a whole tendency in general of trying to trivialize their losses, especially when it's a loss. Especially when it's a loss to one of the big six lot. So when they lose to Liverpool or Spurs or Arsenal,
Chelsea or us especially.
they belittle it by pretending that it's because they're crap. Don't get me wrong, United aren't a brilliant team, or they belittle it. They'll go into the game. I remember this vividly. I'll get in like group chat messages and on the TL, if you see it, United fans coming into the game from on the back of battering Leipzig were talking reckless. They were
100%.
talking reckless about the game. They were talking, oh, we just put 5 past Leipzig. This the Arsenal game is going to be calm. Whatever. And I was like, okay. I didn't go out of my way to say we're going to win. I played it safe and said draw because realistically, for the past 2-3 seasons, we've been drawing there. So I just assumed we continue. We beat them. We tend to beat them fairly well at home, but away is our issue. So I went into this game thinking, you guys are hella confident for a team who hasn't beat us at home in years, for a team who hasn't won at home the entire season. You're moving a bit, like Arsenal aren't great, but you're moving a bit. You're moving a bit too loud.
Leave it. Yeah.
You know, and then they lose now, and then you just see either silence or them trying to, oh yeah, but we haven't won at home in the entire season. Why are you surprised? But I was like, oh, so now the tone switched. It's switched up now to saying, oh, we haven't won. But before you were saying we won 5-0 against Leipzig, so Arsenal should be easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I recall a midfield 2 of Partey and Elneny somehow bossing about Pogba, Bruno. I think Fred was there. I want to say McTominay. All them man who they had a congested midfield, but 2 man negated the entire thing. And
I know, and I felt like when it happened, Jen, I've noticed it. When the games actually occurred and the performance went down, you realise the difference in the lineup before anyone would confirm it. Every United supporter still to this day will say they have this player better than us, that player better than us. None of our players can walk into their team. Only Aubameyang or Ozil. Ozil don't play now, so it'll probably be just about Aubameyang. That game showed again why those recent draws weren't meant to be draws, because we only drew in those situations because they either got the goal that they needed to, or we just weren't relentless. Like we weren't again. If we show the ruthlessness that we have somewhere, it's there, but it's not showing. Obviously, that ruthlessness, that killer edge, there would be no problem.
The draws we had were, I stand by saying the draws we had against United for the past few seasons away were self-inflicted. We should have been winning those games, and we messed up. It wasn't the other way around of, oh, they were better. No, if we watch those games back, Arsenal were the better teams. We just were toothless or idiots.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, it's the mighty have fallen in it, because if you think of it, like back in the day when I was a kid and younger, like Arsenal versus United was like the equivalent of when like El Clasico was as massive as it was. That was Arsenal and United. You had that on the pitch as well as the fans going mental. So it was like it was a synergy thing. Both things were good. And then as the years went, Arsenal started to decline. Man United was still doing well, but Arsenal were going down. It was still big because the fans were still loud and big, innit? And then United now decided to descend as well. And now Arsenal and Arsenal and United are kind of, in terms of footballing anyway, back level in terms of how good or bad they are. They have better quality, but I think in terms of like individual players, if you look at them on paper, that's because they have more finances to get the better players. But what it's showing is that the better players aren't performing. But now it's a case of, it's gone from an El Clasico-esque thing on both the field and the stands to purely, it's literally, I think someone coined it on the TL. It's literally the TL Clasico. It's purely Arsenal and Man United fans who go hell for level. That's what this game was about. It was purely about football Twitter banner. Because I think both sets of fans know their teams aren't particularly good at the moment. So there's no right. So none of us are in top at the moment. I think United are 14th. I think we're 11th. Like it's not exactly it's a mid-table battle at the moment. So it's nothing like, this is just purely for bragging rights. This is why I kind of bantered about it, because it's like, I know my team's not good, but I'm not lying and pretending that it's better than it is. But then you've got United fans who are like bigging up their team for more than they've actually been showing. So it is what it is. The game was good in terms of the result and the resolve. Keep that insular, as shown from the Aston Villa game. Yeah, the problems that in general are around Arsenal came home to roost in the current game.
I can imagine that. Obviously, that's my point. Like 1 minute, you see when you see the good side of Arsenal, it's very noticeable, very noticeable. And when you see it, you can't say nothing wrong about it. Like when we played bad, that style of play is unquestionable because we go into the Europa League game after United, carry on the form. Again, considering the opponents we have in the group, which is why I said we should do well in the group. I don't know how well we'll do throughout the rest of the competition because there are some competitors, as they usually are.
Hmm.
We've beaten them all now. So that's 3 games, 3 wins. Done. One more, we qualify. No problems. I don't mind that. But then because to me, I don't even feel like mentioning too much of the game. It's like the only positive from that European game I genuinely have, and I'm only saying this because you mentioned it, and I'm scared that you might be right with him. But there's something about Joe Willock. I'm watching him, and he's getting on my nerves now because he either has this great quality as a young midfielder where this is a thing, yeah, for video game players or just people who study players, yeah. Certain players might just be the most average of average or just dying standard professionals. Wake up, they sleep, they eat shit pro ball.
Yeah,
So I can get, and some parts of my atrium, the ventricles are on holiday. My atrium right now, 2 of them, I feel like he's basically trying to tell me I'm not a gunman, but if you need me to, I'll bang goals. When I do bang a goal, it can be very smooth, composed, or it will be a spectacular banger. Because one way or another, when I have a chance, I'm a leather it. So, and then with his general performance, he can give you whatever because he's got the energy to run up and down. He's not the greatest passer, but he can pass a ball, and he's not a clinical striker, but he can shoot in it. Again, I don't get his like what's his design? Like I feel like Joe Willock is the epitome of when Primark does a collaboration with a designer brand. Like he's just not that. He's really just not that. But for some reason, he comes in and shows that he could be.
because the thing
He
is
could be.
with Willock is I think when he first came through under Wenger, I think he came through at the same time as Ainsley, uh, Reese, and it was someone else, Eddie. And I said then that I think in terms of talent, he was the least talented out of them. It's not a bad thing, but in terms of like the quality, because I think it was with those.
But he played the most out of all of them.
Because the thing is with him, he has excellent athleticism. Like he's got great movement. He's a hassle, and he makes runs like consistently. So
Yes.
he pulls opposition out of place. That's kind of thing. He's a nuisance, and it's a bit of a chaos factor in there as well. Which I like a chaos
Yep.
factor once in a while. My issue with him is that he's technically not good. Like on the ball, if you watch him, he's like Bambi. Like he kind of flips and slides all over the gaff. His touch is a bit nonsensical. He kind of his decision making hasn't been granted. Now, where I've now of like toned down my tone on him is that it's been a couple of games he's played, but in the games he's played, his decision making has been better. Like
Yes.
his runs have been smarter. So it's
Yes.
where I'm still not. I haven't turned a corner on him. I still don't 100% rate him, but where I can give him a chance is that he's still a kid. I think he's 20, and that's the beauty of it. If he can develop properly,
Yeah.
because I don't like writing off like kids. I feel like it's rude. Like these ones are like 23.
I man up, G. To me, tell them straight, bro. If they're dead.
But I am telling this because I feel like if you're 23 and under, realistically, like what are we expecting here? Because I think people have been blinded by the Mbappe effect, and they're assuming that when you hit like 19 and broken into the first team for a couple games here, you're supposed to be doing like Mbappe level things. I'm like, Mbappe is the exception, not the rule. Realistically, look
Yeah.
at all the youth players from all the clubs, all of the world, how many of them are doing what Mbappe is doing? It's not a lot. It's literally a
If you
hand.
put that statement, it's very little,
It's
possibly
very high.
none. But
And
when you look at the amount that are playing now, it's quite good. That's good.
but what I'm saying is like, take Dominic Calvert-Lewin. End of last season, so far this season, he's blown up. People are loving the guy. He's people talking like all this stuff. He's 23.
He's been playing Prem ball for time.
That's
Imagine.
my point. That's my point. I think he's 23, maybe about to 24. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and now people talking about him. But don't forget, people were rubbishing him off before. They were talking to him like he was a bozo. Like, why is he here? Like, everything needs to get someone else. All this stuff. But now that he's now starting to, the coach is helping him in his game. It's like playing to his strengths. He's starting to bang the goal. People are now telling him like, yeah, because he's 23. Like, you have to say when you're talking about that Calvert-Lewin and say you're going to, people will look at you like you're mad if you're saying Calvert-Lewin is going to be one of the top scorers in the league so far, do this and not fair. It's like people will be looking like you're mad because people with younger players put expectations of a 27-year-old on a 20-year-old as if it's the same thing. It's like one of them is, yes, like, so when I say Willock, I'm not a massive fan of him, I'm not going to lie. But I haven't written him off. Like, don't get me wrong, if we sell him in the summer, I'm not going to be mad about it. Like, because I don't rate him. But it's one of those things where I'm not going to rubbish him off completely because he hasn't been like
you don't really know how to test the youth properly when you've already given him few games here, few games there. He's got a goal here, got a goal there. You know, like there's no real
fire. He hasn't been like an abomination of a player. He's been a kid that has been overused. That's my big issue. He played the most games for us last season. Do you know how mad that is?
Mad.
He played the most games. That tells you everything. We overplayed this boy for no reason. Some games we played off man, some games we played he didn't need to play. It's like, you didn't need to do this. You've not overplayed this kid. It's like, and you've put him unnecessary pressures on this kid as if he's supposed to be. And he's not even a better talent. Saka's better than him, but somehow we don't play more games.
No, but you got to look again at the situation with him and how coincidental that is. They've been playing him in a position where it's noticeable why he played so many games. Our most creative and most effective player in midfield had not really been used or seen in the last couple of seasons. That it was the start of it. He was involved because obviously Ozil was like rotated. He was more like he played and then all them other midfielders rotated around it. We had Ceballos throughout, Torreira doing his thing. Guendouzi was mainly starting in the midfield with Xhaka. But then when you started seeing that Ozil wasn't really playing so much or getting involved so much, throughout that time, Willock would still have his face shown, but his face was still shown a bit more. And I think that was a bit of a coincidence, but it happened because no other player in the midfield interfered. We saw the pattern, we saw how often it happened, and now with this season going on, he hasn't featured so much because I guess
he hasn't played in the Prem at all, which is why, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This is where it's different because I actually think that's a bit harsh on him. Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
Based on the way that Arteta says things, the way he talks about the non-negotiable and people earning their places, for the midfielders, he's earned his place more than so many other ones to at least be on the bench. It's one of those things where if you're going to say one thing, you have to completely follow through. There's no way. Willock, the whole point of the Europa League and the Cup games is to give the B team a chance to show why they shouldn't be in the B team and why they should be
in
the team. Willock is, by the way, the only one, and David Luiz, because he was in the Europa League game that we won, I think 4-1. Willock and David the only ones who were playing like I ain't trying to be here for the rest of the season.
It's true.
Like, the rest of them were doing nonsense, but those two were the only ones who played like I do not need to be here. So I'm going to play to prove my point that I do not need to be here. I'm not like the rest of these idiots. Play me in the proper team. But Willock got hard done by the playing. Same thing with David Luiz, to be honest. There's one of those things where also our team is just massively bloated. But that's a bold situation. They should have sold a bag of man, but that is what it is. But I mean, Willock was in the past all of the games he's played in the Europa League. He's been the man of the match, both officially and just in general. He's been the best player on the pitch. Like Pepe scored a goal and an assist in the last game. It wasn't good. It was poor in that game completely.
I don't think that man's really had exceptional games.
He
He's
hasn't.
had games where he's played and he's on the score sheet or has been involved with some statistic, and his out his overall performance was beyond
It's gone.
average. It was nothing spectacular throughout. Like the Pepe I know or have been still waiting to see, where any minute he's on the ball, he's causing terror. When he makes a run off the ball, that's the Pep. This is the Pepe I know properly. Yeah? When he's on the ball, it's that last defender that really needs to know he's in trouble. Because once Pepe gets into that zone, that's it. He has two options. He's whipped it past you by now quickly. You're not getting past him, or he's gone past you because he's quick. He's really, really quick. He's quick enough to get past you by ease and slots it past the keeper. Otherwise, it's the intelligent runs that he tends to make where no fullback should be able to like stick with him. Obviously, because a lot of players in the Premier League, especially, are very well detained and they understand the league now. They're getting quite used to it. It only takes you a few games to really gel and get it because
Mm.
that's one of the key areas on the field that are the most affected, the fullbacks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of the wingers are playing side. There's a lot of the wingers are doing, and most of the top players in the league are going from the midfield to the wing and then the forwards, or kind of a mix around. It depends on the club, obviously. But my point is that, for example, Arsenal now they've got a better looking midfield, but their attack on paper by far shouldn't be a problem to anybody, especially with Saka's ongoing performance from last season carrying over now. Pepe, who should still be a player we're looking at as a constant problem when he has the ball to his feet. Obviously inconsistent Lacazette, but he's a problem when he has his intentions. Like when he wants to wake up, my words shouldn't be the one to speak for him because you know it.
He will stay asleep until he's out of this club. That man is snoozing.
That's it. But he's snoozing. He's been snoozing, I can't vouch. I know what I'm trying to say is just to be positive, but the reality is players I don't need to mention Aubameyang. Aubameyang has done his thing. He's not started so well this season, but he'll pick it up. I reckon he'll pick it up. And that's it. Like we now have we have a strike force to start off. We
Is it?
have options.
Do you know what?
Okay, not necessarily, if you don't want to agree, because it's not necessarily, I guess. It's no, it's true. Like a strike force when we have a front three, but we don't necessarily have a front three. We
On paper,
play Pepe constantly, but he's not. What's he
yeah.
done? What's he
On
done?
paper, we have a strike force. I mean, we have. Do you know how disgusting it is? We have the most
You
expensive.
know that Lacazette and Aubameyang are your strikers, and
We
it's
have,
higher likely Aubameyang might go wing, but he's definitely a striker. And then you got Saka and Pepe and William now.
we have the most expensive front three
Absolutely.
in the league. In the league, we have the
Yes.
most expensive, and this is proving my point that
Oh, that's sad. Oh, don't do that. Oh, that's sad.
prices do not mean quality. This club was bumped when they paid for Pepe, bumped when we paid for Lacazette.
Early.
Two bumpings
Early.
in that we have, and it's madness. This is why I've been tweeting. Freaking Lille bumped us with Pepe, right? But they did a sweetness because of that. They know themselves they bumped us, so they did a nice deal for Gabriel. They let us do installments, let us do niceness with that one. Leo need to do the same with Aouar. They bumped us with Lacazette. Do the same Aouar now. Give us a deal because you've shamed us already. That's nonsense. You need to give us a deal for Aouar. That's just rude. Because Lacazette,
Yes.
I liked him when he first came. I thought, okay, he got injured in the first season, but he did decent enough. I was like, okay, first season, but you're a bit injured. But the switch should have been in his head that I've come to this league. I'm meant to be number 9. Half season into my season, they've gone out and spent on another striker, a more expensive striker.
A striker who actually can challenge you, because at that very time, it was actually Lacazette who was well known to be the better striker than Aubameyang. Then when Aubameyang came in, he was more so I'm the striker that now needs to prove my worth statistically because I'm good enough to go anywhere. That's good.
That should have shamed Lacazette into thinking, oh, I spent money on me, but now they've spent more money on another striker. That should have shamed him into thinking, okay, maybe at my game. But he didn't. He won, and then I think the season after, he won Player of the Season. And I'm like, for what? Aubameyang did better than you. How did he That's because Lacazette is right. Don't get me wrong. As a person, Lacazette is a G. He's a banterous person. His vibes. It's enjoyable. But as a player, like, I want to honestly know what he offers because he's not quick. His hold-up play is vastly overrated. He used to shoot a lot. He no longer does that. Like all of the
Have you
things,
not noticed that
yeah,
every moment that anyone has noticed this whole target man feng shui bullshit that he thinks he is, that's it. He doesn't turn and shoot. He's not a gunman. He's not lethal. He actually looks more afraid of the ball when it comes to him. Like him being on the pitch, it looks like it's too much work.
nice man.
Doing his job is too much.
He spends most of the time either fouling the opposition or trying to win fouls and occasionally messing up those fouls that he wins. So it's like, why are you here? Because your hold-up play isn't great.
Exactly.
Press, because I said it before and I'll say it again. After the first 5 to 10 minutes, he's gassed out for the rest of the time. Don't know why we always wait until like 10 minutes into the second half to remove him. He's tired from it hits 10, 15 minutes of the clock. He's then useless because he can't run. Every time we see a counter-attack, he's by the DM. He's meant to be
what's
by the DM.
It's worse, yeah. It's worse when a club for years have said, and they notice it, it's obvious, we need a striker, we need a midfielder, we need a centre back. We've waited all these years and we've said it. We've got one player in each position now. We've got talented centre halves in the likes of Gabriel Saliba. Hopefully we'll see him play sooner or later. Free Saliba. Midfield, we've got Thomas Partey. Which I'm not even gonna lie. I've been holding it off to say it because it's irrelevant, but it's relevant. Thomas Partey is one of the best things to happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of his. Get out! I don't mind when your mistakes come because you're not gonna come into the team be perfect, but you are going to come into the team and do what we need you to do because you are a prime example of exactly what we've been needed, and it complements every other player in our midfield.
Simple and known. Partey walks into every midfield in this league, including
literally.
He walks into every one of them. And the fact that we managed to get him is either we frauded him somehow or we just paid over the odds. Either which way, I'm gassed.
I'm happy. And he's such a professional about it as well.
Negating that the spine is broken. Because I stand by that I think Leno's a good keeper. So that's a good keeper there. We've got a good centre back.
I'm seconding that standby as well because he is a good keeper.
So you've got Leno in goal. You got a good young centre back in Gabriel. He'll make mistakes at 22. I'm expecting that to come eventually. I don't really mind, but he's showing that he's got quality. So you got a good centre back, and he's young. You then have Partey in the midfield, and then they ruined the spine by consistently playing that BBW up front. You're ruining it. All you have to do, this is like going to the Aston Villa game, is all you literally have to do is, again, I'm not a manager, so maybe it's a whole different thing, but I'm thinking, play your best players in the best possible position. Like I said it before, when it comes to Aubameyang, we're not like last season, people saying, oh yeah, but he scored goals off the left. Yeah, because he was playing off the left. But what's happening now?
He didn't. Yeah, man. See,
we're playing him on the left. He's playing as a winger. No longer like he was playing off the left last season, so he'd come off the left and go straight middle. Now he's just literally playing on the left as like a touchline winger. I'm like, so why would you change it? And this is where you're looking at it. It's like your method was working. You would play a system that was based on Aubameyang, get him in the best position to score, and that's how we're winning games. You've now, for some reason, decided to deviate from that plan, and now you're having Aubameyang playing as an out-and-out left wing. When you know Aubameyang is not a Martial, he's not a Aguero, he's not a Kane, not all these men who can do dribbling up past the man. Aubameyang is service reliant. He has always been service reliant. You need to get him in the best positions to shoot. But now you're having Aubameyang being the one crossing the balls into Willian and Lacazette on a weaker foot, and you're surprised nothing good is happening.
I don't even understand why Willian is not the option on that side, where he's made it clear, I will happily play in the 10 and both sides of the wing. He's capable of playing as a winger, as he is a winger, and he's capable of playing on that side as any of those other players, bar Saka, to be honest, because obviously we've brought Saka in from playing as a left winger to then consistently put that forward well enough for us as left wing, sometimes right mid. You know, he's a different player. But that position, that left wing position, has been a taboo, tormented role and position for so long because we've tainted it with attacking midfielders being played there. Now we're doing it because best finishing striker and best finishing player in the whole squad. He's been put there, but it doesn't compliment him to playing there because the player who's playing in his actual position just isn't doing any other role or like portraying anything. In other words, if Aubameyang was to be a left winger, and on paper it should work because all he really has to do is to consistently on various different phases of the attacking play terrorize them. That fullback should not know what you're going to do. That centre back should be always watching you. So anytime you get the ball, we're not worried about the fact that you're not the best on the ball player. You're not the greatest dribbler. That's fine. Football is about the manager, the player, tactical brain. Work together, we win. If you just look at what he can do, right, put him anywhere that's very close to the edge or near the box, just surround him near that box. If he's got a good eye on that goal, there's a 9 times out of 10 chance it's on target. Now, if you put him in the right position and he's getting in the right angle, and whether there's a player around him or not, more time let's say it's not. 9 times out of 10, it's not 10 out of 10. He's putting in the back of the net. So if we know this, and we're not gonna think, okay, Laka can't do it, Pepe should do it, but he's not gonna do it. It's really reliant on Aubameyang to do so. Why are we then gonna delay his game? Reduce what he can do, put a fossil in his position where he's just doing literally this is what Lacazette does for about 80 minutes because he never gets 90. For about 70, 80 minutes, this is what he's doing.
He's like trying to back it. He's just using his ass to try and back. It's like, but why? Every defense in the world will have the easiest time against this current system that Arsenal are playing for the attackers because Lacazette is the easiest person in the world to defend against, and because of that, Aubameyang has now become easy to defend against because the centre backs they don't have to move, meaning they can spend their time locking off Aubameyang, locking off his runs, and then Willian and Pepe, I don't know what they're doing. So that's another easy side. It's like you've got Aubameyang, Saka, Tierney, all in the same line, doing the same thing, getting each other's ways to try and do crosses into the box for a player who can't get there. And when he does miraculously find a way to get there, fluffs his lines, aka this game with Aston Villa. That miss, the header, unforgivable. You get that on target. I don't care. Tierney gave you a perfect cross. He didn't even get off the floor. He hit the top of his head. Like, what is that? Like, I don't care. Aubameyang is not known for his heading. I bet I can bet anything if put Aubameyang, but he at least puts it on target. And that because that kind of shot should only ever be saved if the keeper makes a miraculous save. That's the only reason it can ever not go in. Because the way it was, that should have gone in. And it didn't. Because Lacazette's a bum. And then you've got, I think I saw 2 chances that Aubameyang set up for Willian, fluffed them both. I think there was a Nenny shot that just decided to go any which way decided to go. It was just a whole case of you man can't attack. And this is where the issue with Arteta comes in because his structure makes sense to me in terms of the defense and occasionally the midfield. Now, where it goes awry is his stubbornness and overthinkingness is what could ruin him. Because the man's not an idiot, but the stubbornness and ego is blinding to him to what is clearly what's going on the show. He micromanages every single attacking move, tells them where to pass, he micromanages it to the point of rigidity. There's no fluidness in that attack at all. It's like they all are almost scared to slightly deviate from the specific position they're in. And that's the issue. They don't move, so the defenders of the other team know exactly how to stop them. That's the issue. And I feel like he's too scared to let them improvise. That's where a Pepe will come in handy, right? Which is I think part of the reason why he won't play or he doesn't start a lot because Pepe is a madman, right? I don't trust him 100% of the time, but he's a madman. And madness doesn't work well in a structure that Arteta's trying to do. So if you let Pepe kind of free run, I think in Arteta's mind is thinking, no, I've got a specific structure going on. It's all fitted, it's all calculated, it's all everything. I've got it down to the T. If I play Pepe, he won't stay in the system. I think that's why he doesn't want to start him all the time. Because he's scared that Pepe might drift off of the right wing, go to the cam or to the left without telling anyone and just kind of try things out. And Arteta's a little too scared. I think he's thinking, oh, if Pepe moves from there, the other team might run into his space and they might get. And it's like he's living in the mights and not the possibilities that it could go wrong. But also there's a chance that the shots in the play could help us.
Yeah,
they could now move from the left and drift into the middle because maybe Lacazette might think, okay, he's left us, but let me go chill over there and let Pepe kind of roam a bit. A little bit of fluidity. I think he's fearful that if we even just tweak it a little bit, everything goes. It's like, no, dude, football, especially as of this season, you need free flowingness. You need a bit of freedom, or you're just going to get what happened against Villa, of where it all came to roost. Because every game we've played has been a case of us just about winning it, and this was the game where it came back and backfired.